Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Second International Congress on Islamic Civilization in Southern Africa was, by all accounts, a roaring success. I think what was very refreshing about the Congress was that people shared their views very freely, very openly, and there was good engagement with the presenters. They came across as having worked very hard, put in a lot of preparation into their various papers, good research indeed. But what was really for me very uplifting was that the interaction with the rest of the delegates, the people that attended, the questions that were asked, and some of them were very hard-hitting, very challenging as well. And some of these conversations actually continued on the sidelines of the Congress. And I think from that point of view, the organizers can really be commended. The organizational side itself, it went very smoothly. I think there were no logistical problems or anything of that sort. Having said that, I think one needs to also bear in mind that there are areas of improvement. And one significant area I would really suggest to the organizers for future conferences, when they talk about Islamic civilization in Southern Africa, there should be a broader representation of Southern Africa. For example, we had Zimbabwe, we had Botswana, we had Uganda. Missing was really Mozambique. I think Mozambique is such a key point when it comes to Islamic civilization, given its long history and probably the first, apart from the Cape, when we look at the East Coast, that was really the first part where Muslims arrived and established a civilization as far as the eastern eastern seaboard of the Southern African continent is concerned. I think Namibia is also a very significant region, a significant country, forming part of this region when it comes to Islam. Perhaps came in at a later stage, but the challenges that they faced, and right up to the time when SWAPO was waging its war of liberation against the apartheid regime, the role that Muslims played, and we had in fact a conscientious objector in Namibia, what was then called South West Africa, all forming part of the development of Islamic civilization. So I think that certainly is an area of improvement, as for, which the organizers, I'm sure, will definitely take note of. It was really an honor and I think a privilege for Muslim Views to have been invited to present at the conference. Media, I think, plays, first of all, a very important role as far as recording civilization is concerned. But if we look at particularly corporate media that has its tentacles, I would say, internationally, I think media also plays a part in shaping civilization. So I think the role of media was very important, and therefore I think the invitation to Muslim Views was one that we took up, and what we presented really was the sustainability of community media and using Muslim Views as a model, but also going back. Muslim Views, of course, has a publishing history that goes back 55 years with our predecessor Muslim News. So we looked at Muslim News, what was its strength and why was it forced to close eventually. And then we looked at Muslim Views and the challenges it faces in sustaining itself. And I thought, the contributions from the other speakers on the panel, Dr. Yusuf Dadu, Aisha Mal, and of course Shafiq Morton, who spoke about the Voice of the Cape as the electronic community media. I think these were very important inputs as far as the recording of civilization is concerned, because media, as I said earlier, plays that very important role, but it also has to be responsible. Media can often take it upon itself that they have rules of engagement that only apply to themselves, and certain rules of engagement that apply to others do not apply to the media. And I think as Muslim media, we need to be responsible. I think we have been responsible, but we always need to be reminded of the positive role that we can play. That does not mean that Muslim media, and particularly community media, should not be a critical voice. As Edward Said says, we have to speak truth to power, and that power lies from community organizations right up to our national and international organizations. And I think what Dr. Dadu said, and what Aisha Mal in her sort of looking at electronic media or media, new media, is it a voice for liberation? I think they made that very important point, that media needs to be critical. Muslim news in its early days started off as a very critical voice, then went into a bit of a apolitical situation, and then rose up again to become one of the leading voices for, or alternative voices. And in fact, Muslim news and Muslim views, with its continuation, remains in fact the only voice that was there during the time of liberation, or during the time of the struggle for liberation. It was a critical voice, it was a voice for the oppressed, and it has carried that history forward right into the present times that we face, where we also face very major challenges. So I think overall the contribution of the media is an important one, and I think the organizers really have to be commended for having kept a panel for media, because often media is kind of just seen as an observer but not a participant, and I think that in itself was very refreshing.